Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. Let's do an analysis on Litecoin in like very short term because I think a move on the upside probably very soon is coming. Why is that? I got a couple of very important reasons for it, and at the end of the video I'm going to talk to you about the possible targets for this move right in here that I'm thinking hopefully we are going to get soon. Now, reason number one for why I think we are going to have a better move on the upside. So you see, in terms of classic TA, meaning supports and resistances, we talked about this so many times. This is a major cluster of support areas from weekly and daily time frame at the same time. So you know what? Makes sense that by the first time that we're going to touch this region, we are going to get some sort of a reaction, maybe even like an outright rejection if we are lucky from it. So the reason that I think we're going to get this move up, again, number one, comes down to this very important support. Reason number two also comes down to classic TA, but in a bit of a different way. You see, it seems like that on lower time frames, for example, H1, maybe even 30-minute time frame, I'm going to say preferably H1, we do have a bit of a resistance area right in here. Now, why is this important? Because in my opinion, this is actually a bit of a weak resistance area. Why is that? Let's go around here. Okay. You see, if you want to go according to the books, the idea is the more times that we are going to touch a resistance area, the stronger it's actually going to get. However, in my opinion, that is 100% not true. Why is that? Because we call an area a resistance because of the amount of short positions that are around this area. So let me give you an example. Let's say initially we are having 20 short orders in here, and the first time that the price touches this area, 5 of those orders are going to get activated, and as a result we are only going to have 15 orders remaining. The next time that we're going to touch this region, another 5 are going to get activated. As a result, we are only going to have 10 orders remaining. Another time, let's say this time 6 orders are going to get activated, and as a result we're going to have only 4 orders remaining. And there will be a time when we are going to touch this region and there's just going to be no considerable amounts of short orders, and at that point, since this isn't really going to act as a resistance area, we can actually expect a break of this region, meaning we go above it, do a slow and choppy pullback, and then at that point right in here we're gonna have some long orders, and the moments that they are going to get activated, as a result you are going to see a continuation of our move up in order to confirm the break of the support. So in my opinion, makes sense to argue the more times that we get to a resistance area and we touch it, chances of getting a break of it is just going to increase by the minute. Now, why is that the key? Let's go on the live chart and count how many times did we actually get to this important resistance area. Let's just do a quick count. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5. Let's go around here, excuse me. 6, 7 times we are touching this area, and every single time we are getting some sort of a reaction from it. So you know what, I'm going to argue this is actually quite a bit of a weak region, and as a result the next time that we're going to get to here, odds are you are going to see an initial move above the region followed by a slow and choppy pullback, and then yet another move on the upside. So from classic TA perspective, whether it's going to be a short-term resistance area or maybe a mid to long-term support, something like this, it seems like that in LTC we can expect some sort of a pass. Now, how about Elliott's waves? Okay, that's actually a little bit more complicated. However, it still suggests most likely we're going to get a move on the upside. But before that, why am I saying that's a little bit complicated? Because Elliott's wave wise, if you want to argue, for instance, we're going to have our final low in here, then okay, you have to be able to find off of the lows a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the upside. This specific scenario is called an impulsive structure. Rules for it are we should not have overlapping of the waves between our wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, this wave 3 should not be the smallest wave. And for our sub waves, you know it, we're gonna have 5 wave up into wave 1, 3, and 5. And for our corrections for wave 2 and 4, we can consider different possibilities. Let's say, sure, ABC for wave 4 and maybe a WXY structure into wave 2. Now, let's go on the live chart and see what is going on from the lows. And this is really my problem, because how exactly are you able to argue from here to about the high in this initial bounce that we got in Litecoin? We have a 5 wave. I mean, do not get me wrong. I guess if you want to force some sort of a bullish scenario, there is a chance that this is 1, 2, and then maybe a wave 3, followed by a teeny tiny correction for another move into wave 5. But again, I think we can all safely assume this scenario doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense, to a degree that maybe it's best to not consider it as our primary case. And as opposed to that, here is our primary scenario suggesting this is an ABC on the upside, meaning what? In Litecoin, there is actually a decent chance that we are going to at one point get a move down in order to visit the lows in here once more, about, let's say, $45 area. God forbid, maybe even we're going to take them. Honestly, I think even if we are going to take them, it's not really going to be like a sustained, strong move on the downside. No, odds are we're just going to do something like this. Maybe get a quick move on the downside because of the possible future effects that in the short term we are going to have in geopolitics. And then we are going to, followed by that, get an immediate bounce back. So if we get something like this, definitely I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity. Now, anyway, back to what we were talking about. I said, according to my primary case, most likely the bottom is not in yet. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that from the current point we're going to get our move down. In fact, like we talked about in the previous video, and I think the last time that we talked about LTC, we were specifically writing here, and the idea was there's a very high chance this is going to end up being a 5 wave on the upside. And now I think I can comfortably argue, yep, it is absolutely a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up to about this point. Why is this important? Because I said this by itself is an ABC, followed by that this is a correction structure on the downside, and now we are having a 5 wave in this phase, followed by, I'm going to argue, most likely a correction structure. So what does that mean? It means probably we are having in this area yet another ABC zigzag, which the subways for it are going to be like this. By the way, if you are a regular viewer to the channel, you know probably what I'm about to say, but for those of you who are new viewers, you should know that for a zigzag, we're going to have 5 up into a correction for wave B, and then another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up into C. And if I just go in here, okay, what do we have? This is a 5 wave up, and according to my primary case, it's going to be into an A leg, followed by maybe an ABC or maybe a WXY, doesn't really matter, into our wave B. And wait a minute, where is our C leg? Answer, right now we don't really have it. So why not count on another move on the upside in order to have this C leg right in here? And at that point, maybe it's gonna be time to have a bit of a deeper move down in order to visit the lows once more and consider this whole structure as just a correction on a higher degree, a WXY in form of a double zigzag. So again, as you can see, even this scenario suggesting overall in LTC, maybe the bottom is not in yet. Even this thing is suggesting in the short term, maybe in the next couple of days, we can count on yet another move on the upside. Now, here's a very important point. If we are going to get this move up, what's going to be a likely target for it? Well, I think you can actually get help from once more classic TA, meaning support and resistances. And sure, there is actually a decent area of significance to consider. I think it was somewhere around $58.50 right in here. However, I don't necessarily think this is like that much of a strong area. Why? Because a little bit higher than this level, somewhere between, I believe it was 63.5 right in here to about $65, we actually have now a cluster of major resistances from weekly and also daily time frame at the same time. So I'm gonna say probably from these areas we can expect something like a 15 to 17% move on the upside in order to get to here, and then odds are we are going to have a very strong rejection from this level. So if you are in the market for some 15, possibly maybe 20% moves, I think Litecoin might be a decent opportunity if you are going to have a very important, firm, and key stop loss. What's going to be your stop loss in this scenario? I think it has to be actually under this important low, about, let's say, $51. So essentially in this case, you are having something like a $4 stop, but on the other hand, about like an $8 target, which is giving you a risk reward of 1 to 2. Honestly, since this whole move up is going to be, in my opinion, at least according to my primary case, by the way, a correction as rusher, I'm just not going to open a long position in here. I'm just going to wait a bit more and see, are we going to get to this level or not? If we get it, are we going to get a quick rejection from here and then have a slow and choppy pullback? If we get a pullback right in here, can be a beautiful short opportunity in order to catch the next big move down, and your stop loss can be above the highs. I'm gonna guess at that point you're gonna have a risk to reward of about at least 1 to 3, which is going to be much better than this trade right in here. But again, if you like it, feel free to open a long position. However, definitely have your key stop loss. Now, as my final point, let's assume that we are going to get this move on the upside. At that point, under any kind of circumstances, if you want to be extremely bullish in Litecoin, like I told you, you do not want to see a very strong move down in order to take this important low about $51.5. Why? Because at that point, it's essentially going to be confirmed that, yep, this is overall a bit of a correction structure, and the final low, unfortunately, is not in yet. On the other hand, if the bottom is truly in, and I'm going to be absolutely wrong, going with the bearish case as my primary scenario, you know what, fair enough. Then in here, give me a consolidation followed by another move on the upside. If I see this, great sign. At that point, I'm going to be able to be bullish with a whole lot more confidence. But for now, maybe not yet. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in LTC's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.